Hello and welcome to the second video regarding our proposal assignment within research methods. And this one has to do with the literature review. Now, a literature review for professional publication has to be what we call exhaustive. It has to look at all of the research that has led up to that individual making the decision to design and conduct the study as they have done and they're reporting out in their literature. You are backpacking on that. You are piggybacking. That's the right. You're piggybacking on this, making some assumptions about the validity of their research and their literature review, and you are going to cherry pick only the parts of their literature review that pertain to your study. Really, you're going to read their introduction about how they came, all the different research they've read, and you're going to pick from that key components of that article that relate to what you're doing. So I once again did an example of this. So I'm going to first show you in the actual article itself. Take a look at this. Here's the article. Here's the abstract, and then we have the introduction, which contains a lot of information that I would normally put into a method section, but it's all sort of combined in there. So I had to kind of read this a couple times to kind of find out where the stuff is that I went out of this study. I decided that I'm going to focus on the 2 dimensions of images. There's 36 images rated as wide open to small size in terms of they call that the number of people that could fit in the room kind of thing. That's the measure. So there's very small spaces, large spaces on one dimension, and packed with things, cluttered on the other dimension versus uncluttered. And I'm just going to examine the effect of displaying those images on the person's perception of how long the image was there. Now, in the original study, they found that images of large open spaces tended to be perceived of as long along that dimension. And the other main effect was that more cluttered made it shorter. They would say that those images weren't displayed as long. So I had to go into the article and pull out pieces. So I read through this and kind of like found some things at the beginning, and then going through here, and eventually actually found myself down here with this first results section right here. The perceived time is influenced by scene size and clutter in opposite direction, which is the part of this study that I'm doing, and collecting information from those few places. I constructed this assignment. So let's take a look at my version of this assignment. So here we go. Now this is all in APA format, so I'm going to be talking about this because this is strictly part of this class that you will. This is a mastery of this what I'm going to be looking for in terms of mastery on these things. I want all of these elements to be present. First, notice that there's no template title page. It's a boring title page. No colors or anything like that. Up here in Microsoft Word, if you double click in this area, it opens up the header content where we can have a running header, and it's a just shortened version of the entire title. So I made sure that was in there. I have the title of the assignment, my name, the date, and the class. I then inserted a page break. There in bold, I have literature review summary. And then I wrote about, in general, all sensory experiences are processed over time, yet our sense of time is not often the focus of research. Current models, the attention gate model, does that assume that we have a perception of a clock unit which ticks and are accumulated until a threshold. Early work in this regard has revealed the general magnitude of a stimulus, blah, 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 affects time. Here's, the possible explanations for this, but have been produced, but that model says that that's not the results that they're getting. So this research explores qualitative factors related to visual sensory stimuli, and that's going to be wide open spaces versus compressed spaces, not cluttered versus cluttered, and their potential impacts on our perceptions of the duration of these experiences. Here's my research question. This research will explore the question, what is the impact of scene size and clutter on perceived duration of stimulus? That's it. 4 paragraphs. It's a summary of the parts of the article that are relevant to me. Now, let's go back to that, and I'm going to show you there's 2 articles. Block and Zaki from 1997, the attention gate model, and Matthews and Meck, and they talked about factors such as brightness, loudness, number, and affected intervals of time. Those 2 articles and the original article are the only references that I'm going to refer to in here. I did not read those 2 other articles. I read the source article, but I did not read those other 2 articles. I'm using the source article as my source for those 2 references. So there's my summary. The next page, formatted as references. You have references in the middle, and we have in alphabetical order by the last name. We have the 3 articles. I have Block, I have Ma, that's my source article right there, and then Matthew and Meck. Actually, and that should be, whoops, that's wrong. W-H. Yep, had that backwards. There. Last name's initials. That's the references, and that's it. This whole thing is 3 pages long. Now, the APA parts of this is going to be important. What's bold, what is not, what the title page looks like, the running header, what your references look like with references in the middle. Every one of those are double spaced with no extra space in between references. With hanging indent, meaning the first line is all the way to the left and every other subsequent line is indented. There, the concise guide to APA style. This is what you need. You need to get this book. It's awesome. I looked at just to make sure I was doing it right, and I actually had a old habit on doing references that I had to fix, but I looked up references in here to make sure that I'm doing them right. And this is what I produced. So here's part 2, just this little literature review that talks about the theories and whatnot that are supporting this study, aside from the big study. They're just getting some of that stuff from the original source article and writing basically 1-page summary of that. The 3rd page on this was the references. Save these files as they are, and then what you're going to do is you're going to duplicate the file, because or just do a copy paste, because that references section is going to be on every single paper from now on. The title page is going to be formatted the same on every paper from now on. So don't duplicate the work by trying to recreate all these things. Use copy and paste. And in the end, you're going to put all these pieces together, and that's going to be your proposal. And then based on your proposal, you're going to do another infographic. So this is the next part. This is the literature review summary. This is how it's done. Make sure you follow the instructions in the course book and enjoy getting this done. So I will talk to you again soon. Have a great week.